After an incredible Premier League season last year, Burnley are in Europe for the first time in 5 decades. They've already seen off Aberdeen and have 2 more rounds to enter the competition proper. But do they have the squad to compete on 4 fronts? I'm joined by YouTuber and Burnley fan Vizzy, or Vizzy. Vizzy.
No one can pronounce it, so it makes no difference.
How are you doing, pal? How you doing, mate?
Yeah, I'm buzzing. It's a beautiful Wednesday morning, and tomorrow Burnley play European football. So
I know, it's an incredible scenes. How much do Burnley fans love Sean Dyche? He's done something incredible there, hasn't he?
Well, he joined us back in 2013, and honestly, no one can imagine that what's occurred since then. He took over a mid-table championship side, and well, frankly, I'll turn gay for him. And I think that. If you're a Burnley fan, watch this, and you said that you won't turn gay for Sean Dyche, then you're lying, pretty much. No. I know people that aren't even Burnley fans, and they'll still turn gay for him.
I know.
It's quite scary, actually. Scary thoughts. I love him to bits, man.
And you love him. Is this something that's shared among Burnley fans? There's a mural of him painted on the walls in Burnley, isn't there?
Yeah, there's a mural that was painted when we won the championship 2 years ago. It looks insane. And there's now a pub called the Royal Dyche that's literally about a 2-minute walk away from Turf Moor. They put out like a sign saying that if we qualify for European football, this is like back in like October when like it was insane. Like we started off well, so we're thinking, yeah, it'd be funny and banter. Get European football called the Royal Dyche, and it's now called the Royal Dyche. So the entire club, the entire town, I was gonna say city, but it's not a city. That's the most baddest part about it. Like we're just a town in the north of England, and we're now up there with the big boys. And
well, yeah, let's touch on that, because obviously Burnley through the years have been an important football club, and I'm not trying to sound patronising here. Burnley have done some great stuff in football and a significant member of the Premier League. Let's make no bones about that. Burnley, though, is a small town, isn't it? You could fit the entire population inside Old Trafford, something like 73,000, if I'm right. Yeah. For those that don't know it. Is it madness? Is it hard to believe that there is a team that's top 8 certified best teams in the country?
Well, I mean, as Burnley as a town, like it's a community. That's the most most important part about it. Like we're those hardworking people, and that's what you get. There's no better manager in the world that could epitomise and resemble Burnley than Sean Dyche. He's simple, he's hardworking, he's honest, and he keeps it simple. That's the most important thing. Like we play a 4-4-2 system typically, and we try a 4-5-1, but typically it's a very structured system. And for any club that's in League 2, League 1, Championship, we are a sign that is still possible for you to still be up there with the big boys. That as long as you have, of course, we are quite fortunate that we took Sean Dyche when he got sacked by Watford back in 2013. Like he didn't do bad at Watford, but they just wanted Gianfranco Sola. Yeah, any club that's like League 1, we are like the hope in England that it is still possible. I mean, to be fair, 3 years ago, Leicester won the league, so anything's still possible nowadays, even with money. Yeah,
I mean, and that's one of the things that Burnley don't have a great deal of money. I think it's certainly last year the smallest wage bill in the Premier League by some margin. This year, I'd imagine it can't be that much different, although you had 2 years of Premier League money now. But how does Dyche go about making Burnley successful when they don't pay the wages of everybody else in the Premier League?
In our current wage bill right now, no one earns more than the manager. I think that's very important. When you go into any walk of life, in any organisation or establishment, the manager typically, or the owner, earns the most money. Then the manager, and then it goes downwards like that. So the players are employees. So no one earns more than Sean Dyche because he's earned it. So when it comes to wage structures, it is annoying because, of course, you would like to get that, like a bit of a flair player, but they want a bit more wages. And a sample, not a fair player, but Sam Clucas from Swansea, you want to like an extra like 7,000, 10,000 on his wage to become like the highest paid player. And like he's done nothing to deserve that. So we just said, no, we can't do it. So the club comes first. We don't want to become like a QPR. We don't want to become there's many examples of clubs that's been in the Premier League, spent all the money, and they still went down, and now they're in ruins now. So that's the last thing we want to do. We want to make sure that the health of the club is the most important thing. And like, the football, we're trying to work around that.
Yeah, I mean, it's like there's a kind of togetherness that everyone's pulling and understands the scenario, understands the situation, and they're pulling in the same direction. And the result is finishing 7th in the league, is qualifying for Europe, is the adulation for Sean Dyche and a town that's behind the manager and the club. Like,
say it again. I love that. 7th in the Premier League, European. I love that. Say it again. I never get tired of hearing that. I love it.
And nor should you. And I think that the challenge might be for Burnley that as this becomes more familiar, that the expectation doesn't go through the roof, and that happens at all football clubs. My club, Tottenham, we are now demanding things that are probably beyond our wage bill, beyond our structure, and beyond the quality of the players that we've got. But we want it now because we've had a taste of what it might be like to win a trophy, to do well in the Champions League. Is there any risk at Burnley that the expectation will go beyond what the football club's capable of?
I mean, I think that players, managers, the club, the fans, we're all on the same page that we know that we are Burnley Football Club. We know that we are the small town in north of England, that we know our expectations, and we have pushed way beyond our weight category last year. And, we have to enjoy what we're doing right now. European football, we're playing against Istanbul, Başakşehir, how we say the name, it's a weird name. So, we got to experience these days. These are, if anything, the glory days of, we last played European football 50 years ago. We won the league, the Division 1 Premier League, like back then, what it would have been, like, back in 1960. So, these are the glory days. We've got to appreciate it. And I don't think any Burnley fan will be expecting us to really try and do the same thing they did last year. So, yeah. If we do it again, then maybe there'll be more expectation. Of course, this year people take us a lot more seriously than what they did the year before that and the year before that. Like, no one ever take us seriously. So now, we're now getting the respect that we deserve from not just other fans of other clubs and other teams, but now like pundits and BBC and other media pages. And that's what we deserve.
Absolutely. You made 3 signings, Joe Hart being one of them. You already had Tommy and Nick Pope, probably 2 better keepers, although I appreciate they're injured. You got Ben Gibson from Borough, who I think is an excellent signing and is going to go on to do great things for Burnley and probably England one day. And Vidra as well from
Derby,
the forward from Derby as well. But the Burnley squad is already relatively small. You've got to compete on Europe. You've got 2 cup competitions and obviously a Premier League to cope with. Did Dyche do enough? Did Burnley do enough in the transfer market to negate the problems that were going to arise by multiple fixtures through the season?
Well, considering the situation that it was a week before deadline day, that we had no signings and we were messing around Jay Rodriguez. That he's a hometown hero of ours, so we would love to have him back, but this wasn't meant to be. And so, considering where he was a week before deadline day, I'm happy with what we've done. We brought in another centre back, which we needed because, like, very Kevin Long, and we had no real backup behind the main 2, Ben Mee and James Tarkowski. Ben Mee also signed a contract, which, if anything, that's like a sign in itself because he is like quality, like he understands and reads the game so well. Ben Gibson, he has a lot to do to try and fight for his place because those 2 are probably the best centre-back partnership in the league. Like statistically wise, you look them up, they are the 2 best for clearances, interceptions, everything. And for Joe Hart, both Heaton he's having some like niggly injuries here and there, calf strains, and he's getting on a bit now. I love him to bits. He's my captain and he represents the club so well because he's such a gentleman, but I just don't think that you have it. Nick Pope is injured for like 7 months till like February or something like that. So Joe Hart, we took 2 championship quality keepers, both as relegated with both championship sides, with Bristol City and Charlton, and we turned them both into England internationals. Yeah. So imagine if we take Joe Hart for $4 million, that's nothing nowadays. And then and with our goalkeeper coach Billy Mercer, and all we have to do is just bring a quality goalkeeper and just bring in some confidence back. So he'll still do well. Vidra, top goal scorer in Championship, so he can't be that bad. He'll add a bit more a bit more of a playmaker into our sides, and I think he'll do well. Maybe like 8 goals, 9 goals this season, and yeah, I'm relatively confident. I don't think we get relegated, as what some people may think. Like, that's
no, absolutely not. Aberdeen, you got in the first round. You wasn't too enamoured for the first time in 50 years. You're in the competition. But you wanted someone a little bit more kind of exotic, perhaps, than Aberdeen?
Well, I mean, people see that, presumably on about the 10-second clip, that was like literally my initial reaction of Aberdeen. And like the thing is, like about like 10 minutes after that video that I made it, I was thinking, you know what? It's in Scotland. It's relatively cheap away day. It's going to be a very interesting, game because you're battle Brexit pretty much. So it still was a very intriguing game, and it was very good games too, very hard fought games, and we just got that little bit of quality in the end, which I guess we probably should have done a bit better. Aberdeen made a good case for themselves. So, but, you know, we're in Istanbul now. We can now go across Europe, and then if we go through next round, we got Olympiacos next. So, yay, the 2 furthest European games we could have probably gone to.
Yeah.
Can't wait.
You drew out in Turkey against Istanbul Başakşehir, and you've got to play them again at Turf Moor. Providing you get through that massive tie against Olympiacos, how far do you think you can get in Europe this year?
If I'm being honest, I don't think we'll beat it. If we do somehow beat Istanbul tomorrow, then I just can't see us making it through Olympiacos. But with Sean Dyche, anything's possible. I mean, I'm a Burnley fan, of course. I've seen us do mad shit. But Olympiacos away, like, it's going to be mental, but... You know, I've seen us beat. But then
Burnley kind of made absolutely. Burnley made their signature performances against big sides. Certainly at Turf Moor. You know, if you can keep it tight out in Greece, and then bring them back to, because they won't be expected. They'll be flying over to Manchester and think, oh, Manchester's quite nice, and think, oh fuck, we've got to go 30 miles up the road to Burnley. No train zone, no way of getting back afterwards, and. Burnley, a Turf Moor, is a proper old school English football stadium. I've gone there with Spurs, and I kind of, it's.
You love it.
I do love it because it's a throwback to what football was once. You know, and you know, Spurs are building a new stadium, and that's all well and good, but. It's not football.
What's your thoughts in that? Like, you know, because I love the traditional ground. So, like, when I went to Aberdeen, I love their ground. I love it. I love going to Everton.
So, what are your realistic expectations for the season? You said you won't get relegated, but what are you hoping for realistically? What would be a good season for Burnley this year?
I think realistically, you'll probably be looking like 13th, 12th, around there. I'll probably say 13th. I don't want to say something stupid like, oh yeah, we'll do it again, we're top 10. I love that, and I'm not going to say that that's not possible. But yeah, I'd be happy with 13th, and it kind of depends on if we do make it to the group stages of Europa League, because our depth isn't that great. But yeah, I'll say 13th, 12th for Burnley this season. I don't think anyone can really complain with that, really. I'm going to be realistic. I'd love to see us do better. Last year I thought we'd be 15th, and everyone last year thought that I was crazy because I didn't think we'd be relegated. So anything's possible with Sean Dyche in charge. My hero and my I don't know, my dad.
All right, Vizzy, thank you so much for joining us. That's it for this video. Remember, Bull Street is back with you every day of the week. We're coming weekend soon. There's lots of great stuff, and if you've reached this point in the video, then you must be enjoying something we're doing. So please consider subscribing, and until then, we'll see you tomorrow.